Why, hello. Today we're going to talk about firmware, firmware 1.4. Nikon has released 1.4 for the Nikon Z6 II and Z6 II. They also released firmware for the Z9, which came out after and was already awesome. So I'm just saying. Now, my biggest question is, would this firmware update fix the problem that I've been having with my Nikon Z6 II, which is it seems to not be able to see objects that are right in front of you when you need the camera to see those objects. Now, I actually recorded this whole video about the problem because I was at an event and I was trying to photograph a family that was very backlit and the camera could not see them. So quickly I had to change to like a single or smaller area and focus on their feet, because with eye autofocus, the camera it didn't even care that their faces were there. And there was enough ambient light where I could see them, which was a little sad. So I came back to the office and I ran some tests and I was gonna do this whole video. I just never released it, but I could show you a piece of it. If you're shooting in the studio, you could completely use the Nikon and never see any problems. It'll always find someone's eye. You can slowly hit your function button to pick up that little box. I'm talking about uncontrollable, crazy dark, crazy fast situations where you want to get shots that no one else is getting. But if you're shooting portraits in the park, even if you have people running towards you, the Nikon autofocus system in good light is completely great. Even in low light, it's completely great. As long as I found if there's no crazy backlight or something that's confusing the camera. So that was my conclusion there, and that brings us to now. The firmware release, did it fix the problem? So now, by the way, there's a lot of Nikon users like on forums and Facebook groups, like, I don't know what they're called, fanboys. They're always like, it's the user. It's, you know, any photographer. What did the classic photographers in the past? They didn't have autofocus. But really, if you're an event photographer and you're trying to get images in low light that are fleeting moments, and we did a video on peak emotion, I found that moving from Sony to Nikon, I'm missing the top of that chart we talked about, the peak emotion. Okay, this is footage using firmware 1.3 from my original video. I was kind of trying to recreate what was happening when I was photographing the family. And as a backup, you can always use this little small area focus mode. You can always pop that up and it shows up. But I tried the different, like the larger wide area, and I find with the Nikon system in 1.3, it will find objects. It's after the third, maybe the second or third sort of pump or try, you're almost telling the camera algorithm, nope, nope, nope. And sometimes it will find the object eventually. You have to understand what we're coming from if you've used a Sony camera before. So I'm going to really show you a quick comparison. So this is just a light stand that is directly in front of me, and I have wide area on the Sony. And the Sony's algorithm seems to always pick, it knows that you're a photographer and that usually your subject is in the center. And here it just picks up the eye, no problem. And again, the light stand is picked up. So as you can see, it has this little grid that picks up the autofocus. Now, just out of curiosity, I decided to see what the Fuji X-T3 would do in wide area. And even the Fuji X-T3, which is you know, like a cheaper camera, in wide area, it picks up the pole. It picks up, like it sees it. The one thing about the Fuji, though, it is a little aggressive. So if you try to point the center at the back, it still likes the pole on the side. You can see that here. So that is the Fujifilm, and it does a pretty good job too. Okay, so here's the Nikon Z6 II with firmware version 1.3, and this is the issue. The light stand is right in front of me, and the little area focus grid. Now I should pause and say, why am I living in full area mode? Well, the situation during an event is if you're using eye autofocus, let's say it's cocktail hour, eye autofocus is wonderful on the Nikon Z6 II, so I use it. It grabs an eye, bam, focus. But if there's an object or something and I try to go focus on it, this is what I get. Like it likes the bright background, which is the issue that hopefully this firmware will fix. Here it did grab the pole. And by the way, I'm using the 24 to 72.8 native lens. But this is part of the issue. When you're doing an event, you don't want to fumble through and sort of work out while something crazy is happening, which of these modes is best for the situation. I'm finding with the Nikon Z6 II in stressful situations, it's like there's no definitive mode. Whereas with the Sony, if you at least have that wide zone, it's gonna find something, okay? So that kind of is my issue. The autofocus modes work, but you as the user have to sort of run all these tests depending on which, like if you do wildlife or if you do events in the dark, which modes work best for your situations, as opposed to really letting the camera do what it does. Now, I did see a video where someone upgraded to firmware 1.4 and the camera did better, but it struggled with minimum focus distance. Like it was more confused with things that were closer. Okay, so then I updated the firmware to 1.4, and the first thing I tried was I worked backwards. I tried this close-up test because I wanted to see if that problem would occur. And it did a little bit. It did struggle to see the camera that was closer. And what's interesting in this clip is it's working fine. Like it struggles a little. It'll pick up the background for a second. But what's funny is I changed my angle here, and in the background you could see a different camera, the Fujifilm X70, which was randomly there. I didn't put it there on purpose. But the Nikon seemed to be attracted to the X70 in the background. I thought that was pretty funny. Now, as far as the light stand right in front of the camera, it did a lot better. And again, I don't have like any specific measurements of how much better, or yes, it did better. But just from my visual sort of assessment, it was grabbing the pole right in front a little better than before. And you can tell from this clip that it's just grabbing. It's grabbing. That's all we need. If something's in front of us and we have eye detection, wide area, then, we kind of want it to grab something in front of us. Now, if you do upgrade to this firmware, let me know in the comments below what you're experiencing. Can you repeat any of this stuff? Also, check the links because I'll link up some videos of people's having the same kind of problems. And I hope that helps someone. I'll see you guys next time.